Gearbest have kindly sent me the Lieber Zulu, and now this is a complete ready-to-fly mini whoop quad, as you can see. It comes with a transmitter and it flies in angle, horizon and acro mode, and I've been looking for ages now to find a little quad that somebody can get into the flying, have a little go with angle, get used to that, move on to acro flying and then learn how to do that. And also this comes with a complete set of box goggles as well, so you can then move on to FPV. So let's get this all out on the bench and have a look and see what we get for our money. So first look at the actual quad itself, and a nice little tiny whoop. I mean, the whoops are brilliant, they're pretty robust, pretty safe. This one feels pretty good, that it's going to take a deflection when it actually hits something, which is important. We're using a dipole antenna, so we're not using a cloverleaf or anything, which is going to be a lot better protected. So for both the antennas here, they're going to get knocked out the way without any problem at all, which is rather good. It has 720 brushed motors, and they're 15,300 kV. The actual size of it is 80mm from motor centre to motor centre on the diagonal. Now I do think it's going to be slightly heavy, so I don't think it's going to be the fastest thing in the world with these motors and this setup. It's coming in at 33 grams without the battery, and then it comes with a single cell 350 milliamp hour battery, and that takes it up to 42 grams, which if you're new to flying that probably sounds really tiny, but there are quad's way lighter than this, so it'll be interesting to see, but hopefully it'll be nice and stable, so that'll be its covering. The VTX on it is a 25 milliwatt, it's not changeable, 700 TVL, and you've got 148 degrees field of view. It's a 3/3" CMOS sensor as well, and we can change the channel and the bands by simply pressing down this one here. It's easy to get into, just undo these two screws and the top pops off. I'm not going to get into any of the sort of technical stuff with this one. I'm hoping it's just going to be a plug and play, go and fly and enjoy it. That's what I'm after. With that in mind, we've got an F3 flight controller here, and you have got a micro USB connection there. It comes loaded with open flight, but they say you can convert it if you want to put it into beta flight, but again I'm going to avoid all that. I'm not going to put it on a computer. I'm hoping the transmitter and everything's all set up to fly in angle, horizon and acro mode as well, so I really don't want to be playing with it. And the other thing you notice with the motors, they're plug and play, so if you do have to replace them, they'd be really quite easy to do. The battery itself comes with a charger, and it's a USB charger, so simply plug that into your mains adapter, your car. I use power banks when I'm out and about. When you plug it in to charge it, it goes red, or it glows red when it's actually charging. When it's fully charged, it goes off, and they quote about an hour to charge it. Yeah, I would have thought it would do a little bit quicker than that, but I'll run through all the timings and everything when I actually go through the summary at the end. The transmitter itself is, I've come across this one before on other makes, it's sort of used and they just changed the name at the top here basically. Got on off switch on the top, and then it's all ready to bind up. We got a little red LED on the top here, and that changes if we press this button here. It will then change into green, and the red is when it's flying in angle mode and the green is acro mode. And then the weird setup is if you press this one here, that then puts it into the middle one, which is horizon. So these don't that would just keep it in horizon, it won't change. If you press this one, you flick between angle and acro mode. So a little unusual setup. Once you've got the hang of it, it's fine. And obviously a gaming style transmitter. To arm the actual quad itself, you simply just press this button on the top here and that will actually arm it. It's a mode 2 control, so this is your throttle, so push this and the quad will ascend and descend, so it basically goes up and down, up and then down. If you want it to rotate to the right, you push it to the right and that rotates. That's called yawing. And then this one's your direction one, so the front of the quad is where the camera is. Push this one forward, the quad will go forward, backwards, going to get rolled to the right and rolled to the left, and then the forward and backwards is called pitching. And with quads it's a feel of all the different stick controls all at once, so it's a bit like, you know, patting your head and rubbing your belly at the same time. It seems impossible when you first start, and after a little while you sort of think, what was all the fuss about? The other things on the transmitter, basically almost everything is redundant. These buttons and the other buttons are. The sticks don't go in and out, they don't activate anything, and these are your trim buttons for adjusting the trim on it. You get a spare set of props with it as well, though they're quite difficult to damage on the tiny whoops. I have done them though. I'm quite talented that way at breaking things, but they're quite easy to replace. Just simply pull them off, keeping hold of the motor there. You don't get a prop removal tool or anything with this one. Also comes with an instruction manual. It's obviously a generic one because it's actually talking about an FPV screen here, and we've got the goggles with this kit. And it runs through basically all the functions that I've just mentioned there. And it warns you about plugging into a computer. If you want to run it on a different transmitter, it says you can, but you'd obviously have to take it into Betaflight and play around with it. Not something we're going to do on this review. Goggles, and they are just a standard pair of box goggles basically. Nice and simple design. Now, they're not £300, they're not Fat Sharks, they're not any of the other top brands at all. They're not even really branded up, they just put FPV goggles on them. I quite like, I carry a pair of cheap box goggles in my rucksack most of the time. I find them really good for what they are. Don't get too worried if they get a bit scratched or a bit damaged when I'm out on the hills and things, so it really doesn't worry me in the slightest. I do also have the expensive goggles which I really like, but you do tend to be a little bit precious about them, so I like these work really well. And if they're not too big either, which works I think pretty good. So as you can see, you've got two antennas, so whether or not it's got diversity on it I don't know. I've had goggles that I've reviewed and people have taken them all apart and proved that it doesn't do certain things, and that's fine, that's no problem at all. My thing with the whole FPV setup and the whole RC model thing is, does it work? Do I get a great experience out of it? If it does, I couldn't give a damn whether it had 12 antenna on here or just one. I want to know, does it fly around my garden? Is it good fun, basically? So that's the way I tend to review as well, as you see. We've got an on-off switch here. When we pop it on, it goes blue, which means the screen's all on and everything. We've got a search button here. Press this and it will search the channels, obviously, to find your quad. Obviously, you have to have the quad turned on for it to do that. You've got your channel and your band button here, so you can go up a channel at a time or a band at a time as well. It comes with a AV in, so basically if you wanted to sit and watch your films back through it, you could do. I really can't see anyone doing that, but they've just sort of bunged it in there, and that simply plugs into there. And you get a USB, micro USB to USB adapter here, and that's for charging it because it's got an onboard battery, and you basically just plug that into there. You get a red LED come up on here when it's charging. When it's fully charged, the LED goes off. You get a little lens cleaning cloth as well, just to keep it clean as well. So I've popped them on, sort of fitted them to me with the head strap, and there is a little bit of light leak around, which you'd expect because, like I say, these are budget ones. Easily fixed with a little bit of foam. I've also done a mod that I've actually done on other goggles as well, and I'll just quickly show that to you. It's basically, my eyes, I need, for close-up, I need some extra help. My mate's had a little go with these. He found them okay, but his eyes are good. He's young. So what I've done is pair of cheapy glasses. These are reading glasses. I took these in the shop, just keep trying them on, see how you get on with them, is the way I've done it. I've done a video of actually how to do this, and I'll put a link in description for you. And basically this time, because I usually hot glue them in, what I've done is cut the arms off and picked a pair that just fit in there nicely. And again, just a little bit of the Mrs. Yoga mat, just not even held in there. I can push the glasses in and they hold in position, but when I'm out with mates and everything, I can just pop the glasses out and then they can get a go with it as well. Okay, out for my first test flight. I'm going to quickly do a line of sight one just to see how we get on with everything. Put the transmitter on first of all and simply plug the quad in. You can see we've got the LEDs and everything. Make sure your throttle's off and then you can arm it and it goes into stick over, and I'm in angle mode to start with. Oh, I might have been wrong about this. It does actually have a bit of go in it. Yeah, it does. Yeah, it really does. That's nice. Cool stuff. There we go, so that's angle mode. I'm going to pop it into horizon mode. Yeah, that seems to, oh yeah, we've got a lot more pitch on that. Yeah, much better. Lovely stuff. Okay, well actually, yeah, so far so good. Oh, I hate saying that, you know what's going to happen. So I'm going to pop that into Acro mode now. Whoa, that does actually get a bit of a go on.
It does seem a little bit sort of rock and rolly, but I never find Acro mode particularly great. I always find it better with FPV actually, to be honest, so we'll just give that a go, I think. So just drop it back into angle mode, which is really nice actually. So that's in angle mode, that's in Acro mode. Whoa, you can see the difference there. So. And then just flick it back, that's brilliant, I like that, really good. Okay, let's get a pair of goggles on. Okay, and into my first flight with FPV with the goggles on. So this has got the box goggles on. As you see, you're going to fly past me, you see there's a pair of goggles on the pallet that stood up next to me, and that's what's recording this video, because there's no way of recording video on the goggles that come with it. The goggles that come with it are very dark in comparison to this picture, and they're contrasty as well, and well, basically they're free, and that's I'll run through more of that when we actually get into the summary area. The flight is all in angle at the moment, and I'll tell you when we swap into Acro, and it's got the usual sort of thing with the whoops, whoop style quads, that if you don't keep the power up into bend, it will sort of drop in. The edge that's dropping into the bend will usually drop in quite quick, but easy to keep the power on and no problem at all. Nice and precise, easy little flyer, and good fun really. Here I flick it into Acro mode, and I've missed out doing Horizon because I honestly don't know anyone that flies Horizon, and so it was straight into Acro. It's a bit rock and rolly, so you put in a bit of stick input, not a lot happens, then you get a bit more than you actually were thinking you were going to get. It's not as bad as a lot of them I've had, I must admit, but it's not like flying a full-on transmitter with a nice Acro flyer, and whether or not if you put this onto a better transmitter it would be a good Acro flyer, it probably would be absolutely fine, but with this setup it's yeah, I don't know that I would say that you're going to learn how to fly proper Acro with this, but it is, yeah, it is controllable as you can see, and also the other thing with this, you could slow it right down even in Acro and you know, still have control. Having said that, yeah, I had a nice little incident there, straight into a massive brake garage that you would think you would be able to miss quite easily. That was purely because of stick input again. I was giving it left stick and it just didn't respond quite as I would have imagined it would have done. I'm back into angle mode, and again, like I say, nice and precise, easy to fly, not too fast, not too anxious, and you just actually feel in control in it a lot more than you do when you're in Acro mode. It does get a little bit of speed on, as you can see, but I enjoy flying it, it's good fun, and with the box goggles, every other flight in here that you'll see is flown with the box goggles, so they're not terrible, they're just not absolutely brilliant compared to other ones that I've flown with. So this is my setup for recording the screen. There's going to be no way of doing this so that you don't get loads more contrast, because obviously you're going through another image to get hold of it, and to stop any reflections or anything I'll just put a cloth over it. Okay, so onto the flight. Now the box goggles are on the left hand side. You do get the frequency that you're on and everything, top left as you see, and you've also got the amount of time you've been flying. I was playing around with it before I'd even got up actually, and you've got your battery level on the right hand side, so it is quite nicely done. As you can see, it's a really contrasty image, very dark in comparison to the other goggles. The other goggles are about 300 quid, so there's a big difference there, and I thought they did pretty well. Every other flight in this review is done with these goggles, so they are flyable, they're just not as good as the other ones obviously. Okay, so there we go, that's everything done. I'm going to run some footage here. All the footage bar that one that I told you about where I was flying and recording the screen are all flown on these box goggles. So they're not that bad. They're not great, to be fair, but they're not that bad. Let's just move everything out of the way and just concentrate on these for a minute. The range was amazing on them. I mean, I didn't do a long range test on this sort of thing. You're never going to fly it that far away, and it would be a great little indoor flyer as well, to be honest. But the breakup and any sort of video interference I got was exactly the same on my expensive goggles as these, with the same antennas on. So I'm absolutely surprised at that, because cheap goggles sometimes I'll go the other side of the garage and you get a lot more breakup. Not with these at all, so they're really good that way. You've got no adjustments on here. You can't adjust the contrast, you can't adjust the brightness or anything, which is a shame, but I'm not too sure you'd be able to sort it out, to be perfectly honest, because all it would probably do is just
make it worse in another area. So they are what they are. Any shadow areas clog up very quickly, so they become very dense and black. The highlights aren't too bad, to be honest, but it's a shadow area that the contrast really increases in. But I was flying around my garden, no problem at all with it. I'm quite impressed with them. I like the fact you get the information on the top, and the battery is not from the quad. The battery is the information on the actual goggles themselves. And I've run quite a few batteries through here now. It's probably up around 10 batteries, and I haven't even recharged them yet, and it's still pretty much on full. So I'm quite impressed with that, actually. Onto the quad itself, and that was good fun. Normal sort of whoop style. I did find it a little bit lacking, actually. I thought it was getting a bit of a shift on when I was line of sight, but to be honest, when I actually flew it with the FPV goggles on, it really doesn't get that much of a shift on. But I do fly a lot of faster models, so perhaps that's not really fair. Certainly to a newbie who was doing a bit of line of sight in angle and then went onto the goggles, I think you'd find it more than fast enough, to be perfectly honest. The camera lens, I'm really sorry about that. I literally dropped it after that line of sight. I brought it, was coming back in, I dropped it. As it went towards the ground, I actually put my hand to try and catch it, and I smashed that into our gravel, which is big chunks of gravel, and it just literally took a lump out of the lens. So it hasn't actually damaged the quad, so it was a full test, but it has put that little smudge that appears on the right hand side of all the video footage, so sorry about that. The batteries, nice thing about having the little lossy micro connector, and this is the actual battery that comes with it, is there's loads of different ones that you can get. Now if you go for the ones, I'm going to put a link down in description, if they're slightly wider than these, what I tend to do is either put an elastic band around the whole thing, or just do a little cut into there and just let that drop into there and then just let it hold on. There's various ways of doing it, a bit of Velcro or whatever, but you can get 5 batteries and a multi-charger for about a tenner. Have a look at the link that I'll put down in the description, but it won't actually fit in the battery bay area. You do have to do a little bit of modding, but really nothing at all, I wouldn't say, and that gives you loads of flight time, which is what we're after. The stock battery gave me maximum of 5 minutes, and that was virtually every flight was about the same, and that's really running it so that you're completely down on power, that the quad actually drops to the ground very gently. It doesn't sort of plummet or anything, which is rather good, but you are literally, that's it out. And when I've measured it, every time it's been around the 3.3 volts, that's with no power on it at all. So you are depleted. The battery is basically right down to its lowest point, and it does take about an hour to charge up. So I did get that bit wrong at the beginning. I thought it would be a bit quicker where it's a small battery, but it isn't. So all pretty good. The transmitter worked well. Like I say, I didn't do a range test, to be honest. Something like this, I mean, I did 60-70 meters easy, I would say, in the garden, and I never felt that I was ever losing it. It probably does 100 meters, but to be honest, you're not going to fly this that far away. So all in all, with everything all in, I think it's pretty good, but it's your money, your hard-earned cash, and if you're getting into FPV and stuff like that, perhaps this might be the package for you.